So I went down a rabbit hole, not a very deep rabbit hole, but a strange rabbit hole and a pointless rabbit hole maybe. And what I found was shocking, absolutely shocking, in that there was almost nothing to learn from this rabbit hole. So I was thinking to myself, when I first got a secret layer, and it was the first magic product I bought in over 20 years, and it was a secret layer, and it was, the very first secret layer in December of 2019. And when the payment went through on the credit card, it said Scalefast. And I thought to myself, what the heck is Scalefast? And then, of course, you can find maybe people asking that on Reddit and other places, what the heck is Scalefast, through 2019 and through 2020. But at this point, everyone just kind of accepts this is a thing, the Scalefast, whatever the heck it is, right? And I'm still unclear on whether it runs the website that sets up the little line, the little man that runs down when you're trying to buy the secret layer, or whether it just handles the payments and the logistics. Because it seems to do the shipping, it seems to do the customer service, and it seems to do the payment handling and the payment processing. And I Wizards could set up a Shopify store to do the payment processing, and they could, there's logistics companies that they have partnerships with that they could do that. But the lineup, the ability to hold a lot of people on a website without it crashing, and then also allow them to check out, based on when they arrived, but they may have to wait for a bit to slow down the traffic to the actual payment processing. That is sort of a newer technology, and very few people have that kind of technology. Nowadays, maybe it's more frequent. Back in 2019, it wasn't a very common thing. It was somewhat new, and maybe in other markets around the world, it might have been more common. I don't know, but it's the first time I'd ever encountered anything like that. And granted, I didn't do a lot of online shopping beyond Amazon and eBay. And that's the thing, is that their previous attempt at something similar to a secret layer was this Mythic Edition that they had done a year or so before, and there were so many problems with that, and oddly enough, eBay crashing, not necessarily crashing, but the checkout crashing, and the sales not properly going through, and it was just a huge hassle. I remember watching Rudy back then being wholly uninterested in buying any Magic product, and that, kind of made me not want to necessarily buy Magic products, certainly not through eBay, through direct sales. Anyway, so at some point they connected with Scalefast, and Scalefast specialized in this kind of online direct consumer sales. So they decided to try them out with the very first secret layer, and it went actually quite well. I remember buying that thing and being in line. I'm a truck driver, so I was actually in a door being unloaded, and I had lots of time on my hands. I'm in a bunk. I'm just lying there watching YouTube, occasionally going back to the website, checking my progress in the line, and then eventually I was able to buy it. And nowadays, obviously, there's certain secret layers that, even if you are in line, it may just very well fail. That's fair enough. I'm just saying what the very first secret layer was like when I was in it. It was early in the morning on I don't know whether it was a Monday or a Friday or a Wednesday. I can't remember now. But the Scalefast thing did confuse me at first, and then everyone just kind of accepted it as a thing. But no one's ever really looked deep into Scalefast and what kind of shocking things is Scalefast doing. And I did, and while it may not have been the deepest dive or a lot of research, I can't really find anything about Scalefast that does other than it does this kind of stuff like secret layers. And there is a surprise at the end, if I remember it. If I don't remember it, then the video will end and I won't tell you what the surprise is because I forgot. Because these videos are often just off the cuff, at the top of my head, whatever comes to mind. Anyway, so going down the rabbit hole, Scalefast was acquired by ESW in, I don't know, late 2020, early 2021, maybe 2022. It doesn't really matter. What the heck is ESW, you ask? It's a holding company. It's a subsidiary of Ascendia. And what the heck is Ascendia, do you ask? Well, Apparently, it's a partnership between French La Poste and Swiss Post. And you think to yourself, are these newspapers? No, they are not private organizations. They are post offices or postal companies in France and in Switzerland who decided to partner up, create a company named Ascendia, and then made a subsidiary of Ascendia called ESW, which eventually acquired Scalefast and probably has other companies that it's acquired. And it seems the purpose of both Swiss Post and French La Poste is to modernize themselves and become more than just post offices, maybe become something like Scalefast, hence the reason that their subsidiary, that their partnership company that had a subsidiary acquired Scalefast, and maybe there's other Scalefast type things that they've acquired. I didn't look that hard into it. I don't know how much it matters at this point, but it seems like Scalefast has offices in, I think it was Portland, so maybe that's the connection between Wizards and Scalefast. I mean, Portland isn't that far from Seattle. It's a couple-hour drive from what I remember. I've done it quite a few times, but I think it's about an hour and a half, 2 hours from Seattle to Portland, unless it's raining really heavily or there's lots of traffic. But yeah, they also have an office in Madrid, and maybe this opened up after they were purchased by ESW. Maybe it was beforehand. Maybe that's how they became. That's how Ascendia became aware of it and wanted to acquire it. But it didn't seem to have any sort of connection to Wizards of the Coast prior to this secret layer thing. So it seems like Wizards of the Coast failed with the epic secret, the epic special edition, whatever thing it was on eBay, and they were looking for something that could solve their issue, and they found Scalefast. And I was trying to look into Scalefast other clients that Wizards of the Coast or Hasbro may have had a connection with, and it doesn't seem like they necessarily would have been recommended this by some other company that they already had a previous relationship with. So it seems like someone within Wizards probably researched it and found this company. And it seems like the reason for Ascendia, hence the Swiss and French post offices, to own this thing is to move them into the 21st century economy and move them into more logistics and direct to consumer stuff and shipping and purchasing and that kind of stuff. And I don't know whether this is a good move for a government post office. I don't know whether Canada Post should get involved in this, or the U.S. or the U.S. Post Office should get in this. But maybe this is the way that they need to move forward, because postal rates aren't really covering the bills. Canada Post itself is losing a lot of money and is not. I don't know. It's been running in the red for quite a long time, and maybe it won't survive. And I think U.S. Post is doing much better. So maybe they've got to start thinking like Swiss Post and French La Poste. Anyway, so I did remember. I remembered that I was going to tell you a secret. And the secret is one of the biggest, or at least most mentioned clients prior to 2019, prior to the secret layer, that Scalefast had was Square Enix. And I believe they were selling Final Fantasy, not memorabilia, like collectible stuff, premium things through Scalefast. So, was there that connection between Square Enix and Wizards of the Coast? They're both clients of Scalefast, and maybe Scalefast is like, hey, you guys are doing similar things. What about a team up? And this is how we get Final Fantasy. Or was there maybe a direct connection? Hasbro did it itself, that it wants to make toys or any other kind of collectibles that from Square Enix IPs, or maybe have Square Enix make Dungeons and Dragons games, or Wizards game, Magic the Gathering games, or Monopoly games, or any other kind of IPs that Hasbro has. But maybe, quite maybe, the Scalefast executives or people running it brought these two together and Maybe it was a match made in heaven. I don't know. But I did tell you the secret. I did remember it, so you can't blame me if I'm wrong about this. I did uncover one little nugget, and I guess we'll see in the future if there's more, connections and partnerships between Square Enix and Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro beyond just this Magic set, and whether it's not just a Universes Beyond Secret Lair like all the others, and maybe there's more to it than that, right? And maybe we'll see some sort of joint operation on the Secret Lair website or through Scalefast or something like that. I don't know. I just thought that was an interesting. Well, maybe interesting isn't the word. A rabbit hole that had information that, while no one probably cared about, no one also bothered to acquire yet. And now you have it. Scalefast, Wizards of the Coast, Hasbro, Square Enix, French Laposte, Swiss Laposte, Ascendia, and ESW. That's it. It's gobbledygook of companies, shell companies, that kind of stuff. And I don't really know what it means. It's one of those things where you just have this thing that you kind of accept, and you see it on a credit card bill, or you see it mentioned in the newspaper, or you see it mentioned amongst a shareholder report or something like that, and it's just there, and it just has been there for quite a while, so you just accept it. But what are these companies, and what are they doing, and why are they involved? I'm always interested in that kind of thing, and if you want to hear more of those kinds of things, then let me know, although I'll probably do it anyway, even if nobody lets me know. So thanks a lot. Have a good day.